I think it's funny, like I never sucked so bad at certain things, right? Like now with like technology and everything, like nobody's ever used like dating apps, right? That wasn't a thing.
You know what's awesome? I can clip this and go, I've never sucked certain things so bad.
I really gotta watch out.
Oh,
Watch out.
Don't worry.
Anyway,
don't worry. I'll say plenty enough to.
Where's value?
Yeah.
Where are they now?
VH1's behind the music.
Where are they now? Still sucking. You can pull
that up. You can lay back and relax.
Closer to your mouth, like this.
Yeah. All right. You're good. Okay. Now, what were you sucking?
No, I'm just saying it's funny because like I was never one of those people that like used a dating app or anything like that. So I actually got a good story about this. You'll enjoy this. Thoroughly enjoy this shit because when I first moved out to Buffalo, I had no idea about this, right? And I'm meeting new people. One of the guys on the line that I worked, his name was Michael Korzak, and like he was cool as hell, but he'd like for people, you know what I mean, like hardcore, and you wouldn't know it because he's just normal, like so. He's like, yeah, man. He's like, you should try dating apps out here if you're having problems meeting girls. I go, well, I never had problems. I just don't know anybody, don't know the area yet. I haven't gone out and hit the town, so no idea. And he's like, oh, yeah, man. You gotta try out this new app for dating chicks. It's called Grindr.
I mean, carry on.
Yeah.
Carry on.
What's Grindr? I have no clue. I've never heard of that one before.
I'm like, okay, like Grindr. Maybe that sounds grind her. You know, maybe play on words that you have. And I'm sitting there and like, he waits 2 days, 3 days to like say something to me about it. He goes, oh yeah, man. Like he played this shit off good. Like he really knew what he was doing when fucking with me. And he's like, yeah, man. He's like, so how's the app going? You get any hits? I'm like, I go, dude, it's the weirdest thing. Like I've checked out this app for days, and all I'm getting is message from dudes. So like, I'm like, I don't fucking get it. Like, I go, I can't even find a spot on here to pick. Looking for women because there isn't one. He goes, this app for gay dudes, and I'm like, I don't even like. Okay, well, I'm not gay, but it was just the funniest thing in the world.
You know what's funny?
I'm so oblivious to that shit.
What's funny is that 2 days and you still didn't dawn on you after 2 days of looking. 48 hours in, still doesn't dawn on this.
Sometimes you gotta wade through the shit before you get to the hilltops.
I think hour 40. I think something's wrong.
I think maybe if I like a few of these, maybe they'll match me up with some of their friends.
It looks like my PlayStation is 99 messages not responded to. It's like, I don't want to talk to any of these guys.
Shouldn't that be an Alejandro? Like, I'm confused right now. But no, but the thing is, like, some backwood kid, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know anything about that. And then
what's a grinder? You mean for tobacco?
I was like, yeah, but in his defense, what was a grinder 20 years ago?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Not to say if I did not know what that was.
Yeah. What do you,
trust me, Vladimir.
He's joking. No, just joking.
It shouldn't be anymore. It shouldn't be anymore. It should be good.
We're good.
Yeah.
Mike Rick. Welcome back, buddy.
Oh,
His old buddy for anyone listening or
First
watching.
time on the show.
Old friend. He's about 4 hours away. He lives now.
4.5.
Yeah.
the city of lost dreams. It's been a hot time.
Well, that could be Los Angeles now.
Well, yeah.
I heard LA's a shitbox, so.
Yeah. Have you watched the news recently? I mean, it's not funny, but it's funny, but it's not funny.
It's funny because it's true.
It's funny because it's real.
What the fuck is sex then?
They're homeless. Like, that homeless out in LA right now is just ridiculous. Ridiculous. And just keeps getting high. I guess, like, the crime rate. I think it's. This might be Chicago. The crime rate has gone up like 15%, or 50% of the violent crimes on the streets committed by homeless, which makes 1% of the population.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. There's this kid I used to follow. I think his name's like Art Jacob or something like that. He makes music. He's actually really good. He's like a white rapper from like, he's from West Virginia, so he didn't really upgrade when he moved back. But he went to LA, he's like posting videos and stuff like that, and he went down like Skid Row.
Yeah.
And like, this is like an actual block.
Yeah,
of,
no.
Like, tents, whatever you
Yeah, tent city.
It's like a homeless community.
Tent city.
This blew my mind because I knew there was a lot of homeless people out there, but I didn't know it was like that.
Yeah.
Like, this is like the projects for the homeless, you know, like. So,
We got our 2-bedroom tents. We're the burbs.
This one's got a weenie on it for when we cook.
Like I said, he didn't really upgrade. He went back to West Virginia, and you can take that how you want to.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Actually, I think that's where Tim Pool's.
Yeah.
Where he's building his complex now for the podcast for Tim
Oh,
Pool.
no shit.
IRL, yeah.
The Appalachian.
From what I gather from him, that actually West Virginia is the place to be, depending on what side of West Virginia.
Yeah.
East versus West. God damn it.
Yeah.
How high on the mountain?
Yeah, they're out there.
Families live there.
All I can think of is go.
That car's
tell
got
it,
4 wheels.
Go tell it on the mountain.
Oh, boy.
Fucking cousin kissing fucking Bible thumpers.
You said it and didn't have to.
Oh, dude, you have nothing to worry about. Everything on this show is banter. I mean, for the most part, the stuff we like, I mean this, or I'm being serious about this, or dead ass, or whatever. That's when we're being serious. But like women's rights, they're not real. They're just jokes. I'm kidding. I'm fucking kidding.
That was Charlie. That wasn't me.
I'm
Just
kidding.
a disclaimer.
I had to make a reference to the.
Like, this is where the mustache and the whole get up comes into play. Just like
That's why I got my sunglasses, too. Actually, I'll put my smart glasses on.
my smart glasses are on today.
There you
Dope
go.
ass hat too. I like that.
Oh, I just poked myself in the eyeball. There. Now
It's just so I look smart.
someone different.
Let me adjust my lens. There, good.
Well, speaking of serious topics and transitioning to serious topics, we gotta. Of course, he would laugh.
Oh, they're gonna
And now let's bring it down.
transitioning.
The school shooting,
Oh,
and
way to step on my dick, bro.
well, I got a couple of things here that's come out in the last few days about the school shooting
Oh yeah.
and the Buffalo shooting, which I was right in your wheelhouse, right down
Oh
there.
yeah.
How far away were you from that?
All right. So when that happened, the weird thing is my buddy Tim. I'm like his kid's godfather. Like, and
Right.
They just had the baby. His woman Tania, their son Kevin is like 8 or 9 years old, and it's from a previous relationship. So he has baseball, but this is over on like north side of Buffalo, like Shoshone Park area. It's a nice area. They have like 7 or 8 fields, play games all day, whatever else. I went to go see that. So that's over on the north side. But this actually gets even more interesting to the story because you know about the formula shortage, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what's going on with that. So obviously with him and having the baby, we were talking about that, and apparently, I guess a lot of people were bringing stuff in from Canada, but regardless, he said something about, oh, well, after I'm done with the game, we might go out shopping. Like, we have stuff at the house, but it's kind of like first come, first serve basis, and if
Right.
you go out there and get something, you want to try to stock up.
It was like toilet paper 2 years ago.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly the same thing. Which
Except this shit actually matters.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
Toilet paper, use your goddamn hand and wash it afterwards.
Not even if you have a running water or shower.
people started buying bidets, man. Things got crazy.
Real quick, I hate to interrupt. I had to educate a few trucker buddies of mine on how a bidet works. I don't want water go straight into my asshole. What kind of fucking pressure setting do you have that on? There's only one. It goes in your butthole. I'm like, no.
Mine has a hose.
No, you turn that thing like medium, I think, and it's like a fucking, just a nice, yeah. It's basically running water with a little bit of pressure, no worse than your sink in your.
Oh, God. All right. Anyway, I'm with your Buffalo stuff.
65 psi where it takes the layer of skin off.
Yeah, no, it ain't no pressure washer.
Butt flat.
Some people might need it. Anyway.
So I'm at this baseball game, and it's weird too because her son was actually going to stay and play with like the 9-year-olds. He's 8 years old, and they wanted some extra people, and then come to find out they didn't need extra people. But we were there an extra half an hour, 45 minutes, where we're waiting for the next game to start. So we could have been there when whatever was happening. The thing is, this was on the north side of Buffalo. It happened over on the east side of Buffalo. Now, east side, west side of Buffalo is predominantly like ghetto, hood, projects, whatever the case may be. A lot of old time factories. Like I used to work at Milkbone that was over on the east side of Buffalo. So I used to have to drive through there all the time. It's a pretty rough spot. So anyways, I was down there and then we ended up leaving. He said that, and then like I went out for the day out on the transit area, not far from where I live, like 10 or 15 minutes, total opposite direction away from Buffalo.
Right.
So for people who don't know Buffalo, Buffalo is considered Buffalo as a whole, but it's kind of like Albany or Schenectady, where you have the little townships and they're all next to each other.
At least reasonable size cities.
Yeah, but these ones like touch on every corner. Like,
Right.
it's like, or maybe you could say New York City with like the 5 boroughs. Same type of thing. Anyways, I go home, take off for the day. I'm driving. And all of a sudden, like, my uncle hits me up when I stopped at the store. I noticed I got a text from him, and he's in Connecticut. And then my other uncle hits me up, and he's in, like, Tennessee, which is even weird because of Chattanooga. He lives by Chattanooga, where that just happened over the last 24 hours.
Yeah.
And it's like, are you okay, text? And I'm, like, thinking, like, yeah, you know, just a regular day. Just,
1, 2, 3. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
How do they know I was
That was hanging a little high.
I'll have to get back to you on that one.
I don't remember telling you about my bloody stool, but that's all gone. That's all better now.
Where's the main guy?
Did I
Belly
post
button went
that?
inside out again. God damn it. So, anyways, this is a few hours later, and I'm like, okay, yeah, like, hit him up, like, slow texting back. But then my uncle lives in Chattanooga. I ended up calling him because I'm like, if he hits me up, it's got to be something serious.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because my other uncle, we talk a little bit more. And he goes, yeah. He goes, you didn't hear that there was a mass shooting down in Buffalo? And I go, dude, what are you talking about? Like, I haven't heard nothing at all. So then I was pulled over into a parking lot. I was like, okay, well, I got to get off the phone with you. I was like, I'm fine. I'm away from Buffalo. Like, that's like 20 minutes away right now. And because they were talking about the city, not Buffalo as a whole. And I just started shooting texts, and I thought of my buddy. I was like, oh, shit. If he was out shopping, you know, because people are going store to store to store to find stuff. You're in a pretty, you know, urban area.
Yeah.
Like, there's stores everywhere. You got like 20 Tops, 30 Wegmans, 40 Rite Aids. You know what I mean? Like, everything's on a block space like that. So I'm thinking, I'm like, oh shit, like, you know what I mean? So I just start hammering with like the text, the phone calls. I think I got a hold of his he didn't have his phone on him, or it was on silent or something. I got a hold of his girl on Instagram. I'm like, no, we're okay, we're gonna stay in tonight, like, because nobody knows what's gonna happen at this point.
Right.
And then, okay, you go another hour or so, then you start hearing stuff like, okay, they got this guy, but there's supposed to be more active shooters. And they're like, there's supposed to be more spots they're supposed to hit. So we're like, dude, like...
Oh, so this is like social media stories kind of running amok.
People,
and
yeah,
like,
people saying
there's
that.
like a whole
and then, like,
caravan of them.
yeah, and it's just
Right.
sliding through because people are hearing this. In Buffalo, things spread like they would in a small town.
Oh,
except
yeah.
there's
Right.
250, 300,000 people. So you don't know what to believe because you're getting, instead of 3 different stories, you're getting like 100 different stories.
Yeah.
And so we're all like, oh shit, like, okay, what's gonna happen? To the point where you're like nervous because you're like, I mean, if there's more active shooters, there are so many grocery stores and things like that they could be anywhere in the area.
Right.
I mean, with obviously their objective and what they were trying to do, they would be in the inner city. You know, they're not gonna move out to the outskirts as much. I mean, predominantly nice neighborhoods, people with money. Like, their objective was something else. You know, it was race based, which is freaking horrible. Like, I can't even fucking imagine. But yeah, that whole night, it's like everybody was on edge. It was actually kind of the same thing like when they were doing the riots because of the George Floyd thing, and they hit the city. Like, they were trying to break into the main building down there. People like hit cops in the head with fire extinguishers, throwing bricks, Molotov cocktails, and they started moving from the city and started moving into the Burberrys or the nicer areas, like just sliding through. So people are loading up. Like, if somebody comes on my property, they're like, we fire at will. Like, I don't care. Like, that's the mentality. Like, we'll shoot first and ask later. It doesn't matter. But I mean, regardless, it was just it was crazy. I think it's different when you hear about the shit on the news. You're like, oh, that's horrible, and everybody has that like sentimental feel to it because it is horrible. What the guy did was fucking nuts, and I couldn't even imagine. But then it's like right in your backyard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, like, initially, right off the bat, we didn't know that this person drove from 3 hours away to do this. They had a target. They had a spot that they wanted to hit because Buffalo is I believe it's the 3rd poorest city in the United States, from what I understand.
Behind Detroit.
Yeah, like, yeah. So, but they have that many people, you know, it makes sense.
Right.
Like, they have projects that are abandoned projects next to projects that aren't abandoned projects.
Right.
Like, it's very, very poor. But just the whole city was up on it. Like, but nobody knew what was happening. So everybody's kind of like, okay, I'm going to stay in the house. Like,
This is as it's all going down.
yeah,
right?
as it's going down. Like, after the fact of that, now, even where I live up in like the North Tonawanda area. It's in the North Towns,
Right.
which is really nice. It's actually kind of like Kanjo, except 10 times better and 10 times bigger. That's an aspect because I know nobody. I know like 3 people, 4 people, you know what I mean? And everybody's kind of scattered, so I didn't grow up there. I don't know anything about the drama that goes on, this clique, that clique, whatever the case may be. But even up there, you go into a grocery store, you go into like Wegmans or Walmart or something like that, you got 3 or 4 cops loaded in there.
Right.
Like still. Like they're waiting for something to happen because you don't know.
Right. And that what now, or was that beforehand?
This is after the fact.
Right, yeah, this is gonna be now.
You know, like they have security. Obviously, the people that kind of they do in a regular grocery store. The one guy or 2 guys that I mean, probably 2 or 3 in there because there's so many people in most of those places, and even like the workers that they probably have 2 or 3 people patrolling, like checking cameras, checking people as they walk by,
right,
for like people stealing stuff and whatever the case may be, but. As far as that goes, like, yeah, you go into stores and you see cops. I mean, it's comforting in a sense. Like, you feel good about it. Like, I mean, at least we're out here doing something. But the fact that we're at this level, you can't go to the grocery store without worrying about somebody coming in and just lighting the place up. Like, Buffalo in itself, every year, the shootings get worse, which you don't think can happen. You know what I mean? Because once it gets nice out, then everybody's out and moving around. The gang activity like spikes up. I think that like 2 years ago, I knew a kid I worked with, and his best friend got shot up in a vehicle, and I think it was like the first week of May or something. It must have been like the first sunny day, and they're on a road that's by the college, and there's 2 campuses. South Campus is more near the city and the hood, and North Campus is up in a nice area in Amherst, whatever the case may be.
Right.
And they come up this one road called Bailey, which is near a road called Windspear, which people know you don't walk down Windspear because you'll get robbed.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But it's over in a nice area. In a sense, like you go block like Schenectady is, how you could be on a good block, hop over, be on a bad block. You know, it's like that. So I guess they pulled up to this light, and then an SUV pulled up next to him and just sprayed the van. Like 6 dudes in it, sprayed the van. I don't know if it was like 400 rounds, something like that. Just sprayed the van, drove off. Broad daylight, mind you. Not like, wasn't at night, and flash no lights, and no, just sprayed the van, took off, and his friend was in the vehicle and got killed.
Right.
Like, but this is like what happens. I mean, when I used to work over at Milkbone, it was crazy because one day I went there and I got there and I'm like seeing like the parking lot looks pretty empty, and I come in, I didn't get a phone call or anything. I'm like, oh, you got to go home. We're shut down for that. What are you talking about? I go, they had a guy out on the block next to here, literally just put up like a 45 in the air and just start firing it off, and like in the air, just walking down the street. Cops came, whatever else, took care of the suspect, whatever the case may be, and it's just like you don't. It's odd, you know. Like even driving down there, I'd keep a Louisville Slugger in the back of my car. You know what I mean? Because
so you can like hit the bullets back or something.
Yeah.
Like a fucking
poo-hose.
I'm not Star Wars.
But no, because you never know who's gonna run up on it. And people down there in the summertime, like they're out till 2, 3 in the morning. Like in the liquor stores,
there's no curfew down there.
They ain't coming down there like that. You know what I mean? Like it's different. It's different.
Even
That's all I can say.
Like, no, fuck that. We're not putting in the bed.
Yeah, unless something's legit going down in some of those areas down there, especially on the east side, they're not driving in there unless they're going in there 8 cars deep. You know what I mean? Same type of situation. But even driving home, I'd have to go by Delaware Park and like that area that's not nice, and I would leave lengths between me and the vehicles ahead of me because I had 2 lights before I could hit the highway. So if anything were to happen, you hear bullets start ringing somewhere, or you see something happen and a fight breaks out, or somebody tries to run up on your car, you have that room to pull off and just, you drive.
Pedal down, lift her up, get around.
Hit the gas, and it is what it is. But, yeah, it's crazy. I mean, that in itself's crazy, especially growing up in a place like this. I mean, God forbid if somebody went into somebody's house, that's probably the worst thing that's going to happen to you. Everybody's got an arsenal, you know what I mean? Like, nobody's going to...
In this area, yeah, there is. Just specifically on this street with some of my neighbors that I know, I can tell you for sure there's enough armaments in this immediate area where we're sitting to cover all of us to probably have 5 or 6 firearms easy with tons of ammo. There's plenty of it.
That's not even the country, though. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like everybody up here is typically armed. There's at least 1 gun in the house type of thing.
There's what, 400 million guns in the States or something like that? I think that's registered. 400 million registered guns in
registered
in the States.
Well, that's the thing.
That's the truth.
And I could say, I don't know, maybe it's a good thing in my opinion, but I mean, that's all the firearms after they pass the Registration Act.
Right.
Once they pass that bill, everything's sold and bought and paid for. You had to go on a piece of paper, some sort of tracking now. But before that, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I knew people, oh, that's the one on record. Oh, that's all you got? Open a door and it's like a fucking room. It's like his belt. It's like, do you really need that?
Like Bert from Tremors.
Yeah. Or the Hot Fuzz.
You didn't give penetration with the elephant gun.
Hot Fuzz. Remember that movie?
Yeah.
This one's registered. What do you mean this one? Opens up his fucking shed. It's like a goddamn militia.
So in regards to Buffalo,
Yeah.
this came out in the last couple of days. At least I've noticed it in the last couple of days. Officials probing whether a retired Fed agent had advance notice of the Buffalo mass shooting. Said 10 people were, May 14th, grocery store. Law enforcement officers are reportedly investigating whether a retired federal agent had about 30 minutes advance notice of a mass shooting at a Buffalo grocery store where 10 people were killed. The alleged investigation is being reported by the Buffalo News. Based on what the news outlet says, it's information from 2 law enforcement officials. Authorities think the former agent, believed to be from Texas, was one of at least 6 people who regularly communicated with the accused gunman, not going to mention his name, in an online chat room in which racist hatred was discussed. The newspaper reports based on information from the 2 sources who reportedly had direct knowledge of the investigation.
So this guy was linked to the fact, linked to Texas too. Isn't that kind of ironic? Well, let
me ask you this.
Let me get through this last paragraph here.
Okay,
It's short. They said the 6 were asked by the shooter to read about his May 14th mass shooting plans at the target location about 30 minutes before he had opened fire at the Tops Market.
So, let me ask you this. This was an online chat group.
Right.
Was it is there any details in the article about whether it was a bunch of racist people in agreement? Or was it like, hey, look, if you have problems, come talk to us. We'll try to help you understand and move past these issues, move past these biases.
Initially, was it a hate group or
Was it a hate group or a support group?
The way it's interpreted, or the way I interpret it here, it was probably some Discord or something like Reddit or something where it was just specifically, or Reddit, where each thread or each subreddit has its own terms basically. Like if there's one for racism, Reddit doesn't come in and it's like, oh, you're out of here. It's each person's individual thread. So that's the way I interpret it.
Do you think someone would be monitoring that though? Like looking for something like that? Because you wouldn't want anything on your name. You know what I mean? Like if that came out and they're like, well, this is going on Reddit, and apparently they don't pay attention to what's going. Yeah, I mean,
all you have to. I mean, this is saying that they were talking to this person directly, so they knew their name. But you've been on Reddit. Everyone has a tag, just like games or everything else. Like how do you, unless you're the FBI, which this one was former.
Well, the FBI thing, kind of stand out. You said was from the FBI in Buffalo, was from the area, because there is an FBI building in downtown Buffalo. I know that.
It doesn't specify.
He was a retired agent.
It just says he was a retired agent.
I was going to say, because it would make more sense if that was the place I guess you were trying to hit and you knew somebody who you know what I mean?
The former agent was believed to be from Texas.
From Texas.
That's not even
Well, that's not really relevant because it doesn't tell you where they worked. Obviously, they're not going to tell you where they worked. But still. The only thing that I really heard much about was, like I said, the fact that it was planned. There was supposed to be more than one active shooter, and there was supposed to be more than one location. They were trying to do a mass.
Right.
I just don't know if that was
pop up here, pop up there.
Yeah, I just didn't know if that was like the mountain and the molehill type of thing. You know what I mean? I don't know if that was really true or that's what the case may be.
When the internet gets a hold of it and they blow it up.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. But, I mean, that was within the first couple hours I heard that.
Which is expected that kind of story would pop up.
Yeah.
It's like, I heard this from the internet. It was on a racist thing. Some foreign site. Foreign? You mean like the Taliban? ISIS? They've penetrated our states? Penetrated? Pornhub's gone crazy.
Get that platinum. Screw premium, man.
No more 2-minute clips for me.
So
Summed up video.
what? A week later, a little over a week later, then we have
Texas.
the Texas school shooting. Mm-hmm.
That I don't know what you've heard. I've been hearing a lot of crazy shit about that too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So have I. In the last couple days, a lot's come out.
Oh yeah.
Like cops protecting their own family, getting them out of there.
Yep. The fact that he was on the
further than
run.
that.
He was on the run from a previous shooting.
Yeah, they made it sound like
Yes.
this was all happening at one time. He was on a chase, got out, fired out in the air, and then did it. So like it's like they were on him, and then there was all this space where nothing happened. I mean,
Well, I have a timeline, and there's even more that's come out that's fucking disturbing.
Oh,
and it's
okay.
got. I say that's me and CJ were talking real quick about it. That's why I was a couple minutes late.
It's all good.
I have a timeline, and this is by CNN of all places, which we've ratted on a lot in the last few
Ragged
months.
on, not ratted on, ragged on.
Well, either way, people that don't know.
We love CNN.
But to be fair,
to be fair.
they have new ownership.
Shut up, Smeagol.
They have new ownership, and what they want to do is they firing a lot of their talking figureheads like Rachel Maddow, like people like that that just give opinion pieces rather than like reporting. And since they've done that in the last month or so, it looks like they're starting to turn back into news.
No shit.
Good for them. But I did
Okay.
find this on CNN, regardless of everything that we've like just tore them apart for in the last few months. They have a timeline for everything that happened. So, okay.
Good timeline.
10-4.
This is going to be,
buddy.
I'm going to, you know what? I'm going to go through pretty much this whole thing.
Go for it.
First, it's a quick rundown in the months prior. March 1st, the shooter had an Instagram chat with several others, which he discussed buying a gun. The 14th of March, shooter wrote on an Instagram post, 10 more days. Another user replied. That's in like response to buying the gun. Then it goes down to May 17th. Shooter legally purchased 2 AR platform rifles at a local FFL. And the shooter purchased 375 rounds of ammo on the 18th. All right, this is the day that it happened. Said he shot his grandmother and left the house. Before going to the school and
But what time did that happen? Does it have a time, like 11 something in the morning?
it says a little bit into this. So
Okay.
it said before going to the school and committing the massacre, the shooter sent a series of chilling text messages to a girl he met online, according to the screenshots reviewed by CNN. The teen girl who lives in Germany said she began chatting with the shooter on a social media app earlier this month. The shooter told her that on Monday he received a package of ammunition. On Tuesday morning, the shooter called her and told her he loved her, she said. He complained about his grandmother being on the phone with AT&T about my phone, quotes. It's annoying, he texts. 6 minutes later, 11:21 a.m., he texts, I just shot my grandma in the head. 6 seconds after, he says, I'm going to go shoot up an elementary school right now. Then Tuesday, May 24th, 11:27 a.m. Video shows an exterior door of the shooter, of Robb Elementary School, which is suspected to be where the shooter entered from, was propped open by a teacher, McGraw said during a February news conference. 11:28 a.m., the shooter's vehicle crashes into a ditch near the school. A teacher runs into a room to get a phone and returns to exit the door, which remains propped open, McGraw said. The suspect jumps out from the passenger side of the truck with a rifle and a bag, which officials later discovered was ammunition, of course. The DPS director said at the Thursday news conference. 2 witnesses, meanwhile, were at a funeral home across the street from the school, hear the crash, and go to see what happened. The suspect begins firing at them. Both ran away. 11:30 a.m. A teacher reemerges in a panic and apparently called 911, McGraw said. In a separate statement, the U.S. Marshals Service said it received a call for assistance at 11:30 from a Uvalde police officer. 11:31 a.m., the suspect reaches the last row of vehicles at the school parking lot and begins shooting at the school. So all the shooting started at, 11?
He shot his grandmother at 11:21.
Well, in the school, 11:28. So in doing so, drove the suspect. First officer enters the school more than 1 hour before the shooter was killed. 11:33 a.m. The shooter enters the school and begins shooting into a classroom, which is connected to a second class. He shot at least 100 rounds, McGraw said. 11:35 a.m. 3 Uvalde Police Department officers enter through the same door as the suspect. Another 3 police officers and the county sheriff follow, for a total of 7 officers on scene. The 3 initial officers went directly to the class door, which was closed, and 2 receiving grazing wounds from the shooter. 11:37 a.m., another 16 rounds were fired in the following minutes. 11:42 a.m., a source close to a teacher receives a text saying there was an active shooter on campus. CNN saw the text chain and confirmed the timestamps. Robb Elementary School announces on Facebook, 11:43 a.m., it's under a lockdown status due to gunshots in the area, adding the students and staff are safe in the building. Roughly, this is typical telephone, you get a little bit of the story. So roughly 11:44 a.m., officers are calling for additional resources, equipment, body armor, negotiators, and evacuating students and teachers. 7 minutes later, 11:51 a.m., more officers arrive on scene. So 12:03, now this is about a half hour after he initially entered the building, the shooter. Officers continued to arrive in the hallway of the school. There's as many as 19 officers at the time in the hallway. 12:03 p.m., a young girl from inside one of the adjoining classrooms calls 911, identifies herself, and whispers in the classroom she is. The call lasts about 23 seconds. She calls back several minutes later and says multiple people are dead. 12:10 p.m., the first group of deputy U.S. Marshals arrive on scene to assist federal, state, and local law enforcement already on scene. 3 minutes later, 12:13, the girl calls 911 again. 12:15, members of the Border Patrol's tactical unit, the BORTAC, arrive on scene. Oh, this is nearly 40 minutes later now. 12:17, Robb Elementary announces on Facebook that there is an active shooter at the school and authorities are on scene. These 2 times are backwards. 12:16 p.m., the girl calls 911 again and tells dispatch there are 8 to 9 students alive. Another person calls 911 at 12:19 from one of the 2 classrooms and hangs up when another student tells her to. 12:21, the suspect fires again. He was believed to be at the door, McGraw said. Law enforcement moved down the hallway. 12:21 p.m., 3 shots are fired. 3 shots fired are heard from another 911 call made. 12:36, 15 minutes later, the initial student who called 911 again calls, is told to be very quiet and tells dispatchers he shot the door. The call lasts 21 seconds. 12:43 p.m., the young girl asked dispatchers to please send the police now. 12:47, the student asked for police again, McGraw said. A minute earlier, she had said she could hear the police next door. 3 minutes later, 12:50 p.m., law enforcement breached the locked classroom door using keys from a janitor. They shoot and kill the suspect. 12:51, through the young girl's 911 call, there are loud noises and officers can be heard moving children out of the room. The child goes outside and the call cuts off. The suspect had a total of 1,650 rounds of ammunition, and at least 315 of them were inside the school, and 142 were spent cartridges. That's the timeline. So from 11:33 to 12:50 when they went in and shot the shooter. That's a fucking problem.
Well,
and this whole situation, for a fucking change, has the left and the right both in agreement something's fucking wrong. When law enforcement agencies, law enforcement officials are on scene, and an hour and 20 fucking minutes later, actually fucking do something. And, well, it was an hour and 18 minutes later. They were outside of the door within 10 minutes of the shooter barricading himself in the door. What I learned is while he initially first got in the room, the situation had been de-escalated from an active shooter to a barricade situation. That evidently is why the people didn't go in. But in reading this, the whole time he was in there, he was shooting. That's not a barricade situation. That's an active shooter.
Yeah.
Why did they not go in? There was 19 fucking officers in that building, outside of that door, or at least in that hallway. No one went in. This is what happens when you defund police. Or, not to bring this fucking shit into it, when they were pushing vaccines and police officers were leaving. You're left with yes men. And a majority of people that's left in the force, not to discredit all police officers, but they obviously were not going to go in there. Maybe it's just me, and it would be insubordination. But if I'm in a school, because especially when I was listening to this as it was happening, live stream, I was working, and all I could think was my daughter, because the age group was pretty fucking close to my daughter. And this was not like a big city school. This is a regular fucking school. You can't help but think of your own kids in, you know, our school district or any school district. And nothing happened. I would be in that fucking room.
So
I might not make it out, but I would do everything in my power to make sure the shooter didn't either.
Yeah.
Because that is a fucking problem.
Before I throw some opinions in here, really quick. So
I'm shaking now. It's just because I think anyone who has kids, maybe if you don't have kids, and this was like I was listening to it live as it was being reported, not to cut you off, but like it just stopped me in my tracks. Like, but all this didn't come out until after. But just as it was happening, I'm like, what the fuck?
So you say, I noticed you said the start of the shooting in reference to the school.
There's a school.
So have you heard anything, like I said, I want to ask a few questions about the timeline before I start casting it.
What time?
So from when the first shot happened, you said, according to the timeline, he crashes his car in a ditch.
Yeah.
So what happened between when he shot his grandmother to when he got to the school? What took place?
All right, so
Is there anything in the article about that?
All it sounded like it said was that he shot his grandmother and got to the school.
Yeah, it didn't give a time when he shot his grandmother. It just said 6 minutes later. So
In the text,
from one said it said it's annoying, like his grandmother on the phone about whatever his text, and it said he texts it's annoying to this girl in Germany.
Yeah.
And it said 6 minutes later another text came through. So sometime before from 16 to 11:15 to 11:21, he shot his grandmother.
Okay. Now, why did he crash his car?
That I don't know.
There's nothing in the article about what caused him to crash his car, because there's a lot of speculation. Not speculation. There's a lot of rumors going on that it was in a pursuit. He was being pursued, which is what caused him to crash his car.
I haven't heard anything about that.
That's, like I said, this is a rumor.
I definitely heard that. But I mean, the only other option.
I'm not saying it didn't happen.
I mean, it's also hearsay. There's no
Exactly.
evidence of it that it actually happened. Who knows? He could have crashed his car over the side of the road. His adrenaline was pumping. He just shot somebody. You know,
Well,
he got out of the car and then walked over to wherever he was going next.
That's
Right.
what I'm saying. Like, there's really no definitive answer. There's people saying he was being pursued, he was on the run, somebody had called the cops, he left, and that's what got him in the panic to run. Whatever the case may be. All right, so then from when back to the timeline questions, not the storyline questions. The first officer entered the building when? The very first building entrance, by law enforcement.
11:35 a.m. 3 police officers enter through the same door as the suspect. So it was 11:35. So it was 11:31. Suspect reaches first row of vehicles, begins firing. 11:33. So 2 minutes later.
So 2 minutes. All right. Now when?
So it wasn't even fucking 10 minutes.
So when? All right. So these 3 officers enter at 11:33. When did the barricade situation start?
35.
So they entered shortly thereafter.
They entered 2 minutes after he entered.
It must have been. He must have gone right into, because at the same timestamp at 11:35, 3 officers enter.
Then what they do? Just hang out in there the whole time? Like that's like.
This is where I'm trying to. Before I start casting,
I think it just says shooter enters the school and begins shooting into a classroom at 11:33. That was the first timestamp. So evidently
they shot in the parking lot as well.
Yeah,
he shot in the parking lot.
So there was already a warning shot.
So evidently at 11:33 he went in and right to a classroom, whatever one.
Okay.
And then 2 minutes later they had 3
police officers.
The initial 3 went in, and then 1 received grazing wound. 2 received grazing wounds from the shooter.
That's okay. That's the part I was wanting to make sure that there was no. Okay. Wow. Yeah, that was fucked up. That's so this. Sorry to cut you off, Mike. This active shooter, because fuck the barricade situation, fuck the negotiators, take all that shit out of it. The fact that he fired on police, and I'm not trying to bring race into this. I'm not trying to bring statistics. Black Lives Matter, All Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter. I'm not trying to bring any of that shit in. But you mean to tell me in all of the instances of law enforcement, guy pulls out a wallet, guy fucking pulls a knife out going after a girl. The one girl that got shot and killed because she pulled the knife out, the cops told her to stop. Mm-hmm. She was attacking another girl.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, didn't get 5 feet from her.
Last summer or fall or something like that?
They dropped her. You mean to tell me this fucking guy was able to injure multiple police officers? 2 of them, you said, right? Yeah, 2 of them received grazing wounds.
Initially, a couple minutes later.
And they decided to say, hey, buddy, let's talk about this.
It was after the fact that they said they were going to send in negotiating something, which that's protocol. So that's
the fact that he opened fire on law enforcement in this country, all the cops, any situation.
I see your point. Because there's been so many other police officers, which in way less scenarios have opened fire
and gotten their jobs back, the paid suspension, whatever the course may be, whatever the fuck the situation may be.
Yeah, that would be even without grazing. That would be a draw and open fire.
Yes,
you figure that would be.
Yeah, you fire on cops, man. That's the right to kill. Like that.
I mean, I've seen plenty of instances. They've had body cam footage before where a gun's drawn and just without thinking they just pull and fire.
Yeah, the fact that this guy was able to. Now I own firearms. We've all fired firearms. Hold on, Smeagol. I'll check that out. We've all fired firearms, rifles, shotguns. I don't know about you with pistols. We've fired pistols.
Not that pistol.
My love gun. You
what?
The trigger.
No, but the fact of the matter is, with a rifle of any form, being an AR or a shotgun of any form, you have to draw.
Right.
Unless, and even military people will tell you, the way they hold their firearm, the butt is right here.
Right.
So that it's a snap reaction. It's a snap response. You mean to tell me those police officers, now we don't know what happened. We don't know what was going through their mind.
No, and it clearly, just to be clear for anyone listening, we obviously were not there.
No,
so maybe there's more to it.
Yes.
The one argument I will say of more being to it is there at the time, there was still all, or at the very least, most of the kids were still alive in the school.
Yes.
Or in the classroom. So their thought process might have been not going to have basically turn this into a gunfight and just have a bunch of casualties that not needed to be. I mean, this was before everything happened anyway, and that was the outcome anyway. So hindsight's 20/20. So that would be that argument.
Touche. I will give you that. I will give you that they thought about the children. They thought about opening fire. They thought about what's the word I'm thinking of? Stray rounds.
Right.
If he starts shooting and they put him down, and here he is dropping, pulling the trigger. That's a lot of random fire going in any and all directions. I understand that. But then to sit there and an hour and how long in total?
It was an hour and 15 or 17 minutes.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was between
An hour and 15 minutes.
It was
plus
11:35 when the first officers entered, and
12:40 something.
12:50 when they breached the room and took out the shooter. So an
hour plus.
Hour and 15 minutes.
An hour plus. That's yeah. Holy shit!
I said once you fire, man. Once you fire on cops, that's like a right to kill type of thing. And once you do that,
it's a duty. It
puts it past negotiation into
right.
De-escalate
and then to
the
sit
situation,
there,
whatever it takes.
But wasn't this kid? Wasn't there pictures? I'm pretty sure. Wasn't there a picture that was posted online about him like in a dress?
Yeah.
Yeah. So and once again, I'm not trying to defend transgender, Blue Lives Matter. The whole situation is fucked up. I want to say this first and foremost. I agree with you where the left and the right are saying something's fucked up, things were not done right, or we need to have something in place, whatever. This whole situation went the fucking wrong way. But what I will say is, and I'm not saying it's justifiable in any means, but like you said before, we don't know the whole story. This might have been an identified transgender person with mental issues,
right.
And because of all the police and all that situation and the stuff that they're in, could this been prevented? But were they more concerned with, okay, do we kill this person and now we have a big fiasco on our hands because we shot and killed a transgender person? I'm not trying to bring transgender into it, but
I know what you're saying. And
I'm saying it wrong, but you get the point I'm trying to make.
Would they, if they,
sorry,
if they went in there and killed, even with this being an active shooter, if they went in there, killed this transgender person, would they have repercussions? Because that's like the big hot topic now. It's like transgender equality and all this, and hate crime is the big thing now. Well, depending on the hate crime, because like we covered before, there was that. What was the subway, New York City or whatever?
Yeah,
it was?
Brooklyn or Bronx?
I don't know. It was somewhere. It was where the black guy went in. He was screaming at Asian and Caucasian,
Asian and white people, and just shooting them. People died.
That wasn't really talked much about.
Oh, that one was like literally skated under the carpet.
Yeah, because that didn't work for
Yeah.
But either way, the whole racist thing, and any direction you paint it, like, well, if I go in here, but again, they probably didn't even know because this is all the kind of stuff that comes out after the fact.
Yeah.
So that probably wasn't even in their mind either. So I think something like that comes out, you find pictures on social media and they'll be like, oh, they're trans, so maybe that's a reason. It's like, yeah, but do you really think that the officers on scene would be a guy scroll through, who is this person? Oh, here's their Instagram. What? They're trans. Oh, what do we do? Like, no, they don't have time for that.
Yeah, but I hate to say it like this, but I mean this in the nicest way possible. Please don't take offense to this. But it's statements like that where, well, that's why we need to defund the police because they're not considering who they're dealing with.
Yeah, that's those things that happen after the fact. And like, look, he's trans, so they must not like trans people. Defund him. Like, yeah. That has nothing to fucking do with what happened, though. So
it's fucked up. I gotta agree with you, though, 100%. I would lay down my life in a heartbeat for any and all of the children immediately.
Just an hour and 15 minutes later, and what, 300 and what? How many rounds? It's like 315 or 142 cartridges. 315 were on them. 142 were spent.
Yeah.
I just don't get it how you had people there. You didn't go in there and try to take them out. Like, I really don't. Like I said, because it's not a situation. You didn't go in there, take hostages, and then try to make negotiations. He went in there shooting. Yeah, he just on his way in. He went in there, he started shooting, and then he shot at cops. Like, your whole thing, you have these people there, you send them in regardless of what happens. I mean, at that point, it's saving how many lives can you save? You know what I mean? Because people are going to get killed. He's shooting. That's already a fact. Like, you go in and you take them out. All that other stuff gets moved to the side.
This is going to sound really bad, but I'm sure someone out there has already said it or thought it and trying to push the agenda. But, of all places, Texas, really? Of all places, Texas, this happens, and there's that sort of a response, this sort of it played out like this. Like, what kind of a message are you trying to send? Of all places, the state where you can open carry, where crime is so low.
I don't know about crime being so low. I'm saying more in the aspect, like honestly, not in Texas.
Not crime is.
But the thing that's messed up about Texas is you have some of the harshest laws in the country in Texas. Some of the harshest punishment in Texas.
Oh yeah, they still have capital punishment.
Exactly. And so if you're going out there doing something, you really are 3 sheets to the gone on something. But I mean, like that in itself, to actually do it in that state, I mean, it's bad enough that it happened anywhere, but to happen in Texas, that makes sense.
Of all places with some of the most relaxed gun laws, something like this of this magnitude could happen and not be resolved faster. Because how many? What was the body? I hate to say it like this, but
19 kids, 2 teachers,
21 people dead in total.
Live in Tennessee, man. That's like people openly carry guns. Like tons of people have guns on them in Tennessee. Like every person pretty much has a gun on them.
Welcome to Tennessee. Here's a bottle of bourbon and a pistol. Oh, thanks.
There's more women with guns than guys in Tennessee, and I'm serious.
New Mexico is actually in New Mexico, and this is I didn't want it to be like an emotional response, like hell yes. I took a few days to think about it, and after like listening to everything and kind of getting away from it and just kind of pondering it. In all seriousness, I think it's probably the best idea. In New Mexico, teachers are able to conceal carry in school. Now, you're going to get a bunch of people on different sides. They're going to think strongly one way or the other on this.
No guns around my kids.
I firmly believe that even if if 4 teachers in the school are packing and well trained with their firearm, I'd feel a little safer. Like your kids, the guns are the schools are gun-free zones, which on paper sounds safe. It's like, all right, no firearms in the school, great. But then you get the black sheep scenario like this: a shooter goes in. What do?
Bad guys can't read signs. Put it to you that way.
Yeah.
Let me put it to you this way, and I'm in full support of this. You know, if you want to defund police, be my guest. But then it's time to start putting this money that you're not putting into the law enforcement, into the school systems, into security systems, into anything like this where, all right, fine. You want to, the local PD gets $100,000 a month, whatever. Let's just say $1 million a year for a budget. Okay, you want to cut that down to $750,000? Cool. Put it into the local community schools where you now can hire security services for those schools. You don't want to arm the teachers because you don't want teachers having a gun in your kid's classroom? Fine. But let's figure out, you want to defund police. When shit like this happens, you need a protocol. You need a policy. You need a procedure in place. Put security officers in the schools.
Speaking of budget, we're sending $50 billion over to Ukraine. More. It was like 53 or 54, 53 and change. Something like that. And there's roughly 150,000 school systems in the nation.
Mm-hmm.
That's like...
I'll do the math really quick.
It's like
$400,000
per school.
Calculator. Let's do the math.
With $400,000.
We'll do $50 billion, not 53 billion, not 53. We'll do $50 billion.
Okay, that's like 5 or 6 officers at like 70 or 75,000 a year. Mm-hmm. To work full time in a school. Now, again, like you said, the fact that we've gotten to the fucking point where you need this
is sad.
Yeah,
it's very sad. Numbers really quick. At just a basic $50 billion divided by 150,000, that's $333,333.33
per school district.
Per school.
And if you just put that into, Christ, metal detectors.
Yeah. I mean, obviously that changes because not every school is going to need that amount.
No.
You know what I mean? And that's the difference.
Right.
Is obviously it will even out between the schools that are going to need 20 officers and the school that's going to need 2. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's where that point, too, where do you draw the line? Like, how many should you
know what I mean? This is just like cutting it right down the middle. Look what you could do.
I mean,
obviously there's schools that have, 5,000 kids or whatever it is, or per class, there's like 400 or 500, like in Jersey where they have 400 or 500 kids per class.
So you have 2,000 to 3,000 students.
Yeah,
for the most part.
So in that one you'd put like maybe 10 officers or something like that. Whereas ours, we have 1 already. Mm-hmm. So I mean, 1, maybe 2 would be fine. So,
And two, just so you have somebody else in case something happens with the guy that's there.
Shit.
You know?
At $75,000 a year, let's just round that number down to 300,000. That's 4 fucking armed guards.
right.
That's 4 armed officers of any law enforcement.
Well, the only other thing that goes with that too is the fact that, like, I mean, you could have guards, you could have teachers. Either way, at the end of the day, you just have to do something, and that's what it
Yes.
is. I think at this point, it doesn't. I'm all for freedom. The country's built on it, but at this point, I feel like people don't have a fucking say. Like, this is something that has to happen to protect your kids. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter if you don't feel comfortable with a teacher having a gun, a security officer having a gun. I mean, a security officer, that's great and all. They have the training, but at the same time, that also puts a target on them. You think
Right.
that someone's going to come in there and think, like, oh, yeah, I know that school's got 4 security guards. I know where they are. You know what I mean? Like,
But I think that's the point.
well, yeah,
is-
but what if you had teachers, okay, you had teachers that wanted to be armed, but it wasn't common knowledge as to who those people were. You know what I mean? Well,
Yeah, and that's
you know what I mean?
where I think that would be
a
great,
discretion-y
because
thing, like-
it would be like sprinkles on a cake. Like you know, it's just there's somewhere in there, and you just don't know where. Because just like, oh, there's 2 down this wing, there's 1 down that wing, there's
See-
1 upstairs.
But in regards to that opinion, then, here's the thing. I think you said it best with the, let's say there's 2 armed security guards in a school that puts a target on their back. They entered, any law enforcement agent enters into that occupation with the understanding there is an inherent risk. There is an inherent risk with the job. You may lose your life. You
Right.
put your life on the line for that. I would rather the armed guards, because let's say in this school, for instance, in this school shooting, for instance, that the teacher, the classroom the kid locked himself in with wasn't one of the armed teachers. You still now have 20 plus students with an unarmed teacher locked up in a room, and unfortunately, we saw the end result of that.
Right.
But if you put that target on that officer's back, they have to. The shooter knows. Okay, well, I gotta go take him out. That's his job. He has to inherit. He's taking on that role with the inherent risk that he may lose his life in the line of duty. If by that chance the shooter goes, all right, I'm gonna gun for you because you're the armed security guard. That armed security guard, 1 death to 1 death versus 1 death to 21 deaths.
Right.
Yeah, but then you up the ante too, because anybody that's going to go in there, they're not. There's the possibility now they're going to go with more than 1 shooter.
Well, think of this.
It's kind of
The guy that started rescuing the kids was a former border patrol or something like that.
Yeah.
Getting his hair cut, and he just like right out of the barber shop, he went a few blocks over or whatever it was, and started pulling kids out of the room.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah, because there was rumors about how there was like actually law enforcement saving their own kids first.
Yeah.
When it really
well, it
wasn't.
was no, it was. He went to his daughter's classroom or son, whatever it was, and pulled her out, and then started pulling her. Of course, of course, that's what you're gonna do. You ask
Yeah.
any parents like, there's a bunch of trouble going on. Who are you gonna say first? Of course, my kid.
Well, yeah.
Why the fuck wouldn't I? You know.
Yeah.
Like, why the fuck wouldn't I? But he was there. He pulled his kid out, and then started just helping teachers and other kids get out. And
Yeah.
Whatever.
Which commendable. The
Right.
guy unarmed went in.
But just as an sort of argument to what you're saying, if you with teachers having firearms, that doesn't necessarily mean that like you have people that stand out and are trained to go in. I mean, there might be another instructor down the hallway that would be like my mentality, fuck that, and just go in. So maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But again, you would say that with police officers. Oh, yeah, they'll go in. Well, apparently, maybe and maybe not.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of people calling, of course, for restrictions, more gun control, which if you're a Second Amendment like purist,
Yeah, I am too.
any restrictions on guns is a violation of the Second Amendment. Any restrictions.
And here's the thing. We'll use the classic example. Chicago. No guns.
Chicago.
New York City. Fine, we'll use New York City because we're good old New Yorkers. We'll use New York
Yeah.
City.
We'll take our own.
You cannot have a firearm within the borders of New York City unless
Right.
you are a law enforcement. And even outside law enforcement needs to be permitted. They have to go through the right channels to get themselves permitted to carry their firearm within the city limits.
Right.
But bad guys don't seem to follow the rules.
No, and that's the thing is if they do something, they even go to the extreme. They ban guns. Now you're punishing every law-abiding citizen. And that's what's been said over and over and over. So you're taking my firearms away because some shithead decided to get a wild hair up his ass and just go crazy. Which, it was 18-year-old? I think it was an 18-year-old or 19, one or the other.
18 or 19.
Well, one, as your book that's sitting right over there stands, is the fact that you're supposed to be able to arm yourself, protect yourself against whoever, your government, if it goes corrupt, power trip type of stuff like that. But at the same time...
Or just fucking
But at
crazy
the same
people.
time, like this, I mean, everybody knows that if somebody wants to do something, they're going to do it.
Right.
How
They're
many
gonna find a
guns
way.
can you make automatic 7 or 8 different ways? That's the fact. It's very easy. I mean, how many parts can you print with a 3D printer?
I was just going to say, and
How-
the problem now is you can 3D print guns, which I told someone I work with, yeah, you 3D print them. You can? They work? I'm like, yeah, they do.
They may be a 2 or 3 time use, but that's enough
Yeah.
to do what they have to do. And the same thing with mags. You're going to restrict mags. Well, say if you made it sound stupid, but 3-round clips, then they're just going to put 40 more clips in the bag.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or they're going to manufacture their own, or they're going to get a drum clip somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to find a way to do it. That's the point of action. The people that are suffering are the people that follow the laws.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
And here, because you pointed out the good old Constitution over there, I get thinking about stuff like this when it happens too. People, like you said before, people are going to be like, oh, more restrictions, more gun laws, more restrictions, more gun laws. Well, Second Amendment, when they wrote the Second Amendment, they didn't think, there wasn't automatic rifles back then or semi-automatic rifles back then. You're right.
No.
You're right. But let's go back to the First Amendment, the freedom of speech. They also didn't plan on social media and all that shit, where we went through the cyberbullying epidemic, how many, 15, 20 years ago?
But
There was the cyberbullying epidemic where kids were getting bullied into killing themselves and
Right.
shit. Freedom of speech, though, you got to make sure you get...
It's all right here, though. And this is like anything, even with the cops handling the situation as well. Like, you have an understaff. You have a lot of new people. The training has to be constant. You have to adapt to the type of things that are happening
And don't
out there.
forget, that job has to be so fucking stressful.
Oh, and even more so now.
Oh yeah,
You know what I mean? Like,
because
who would
now
want to be a cop in the world
it's
right
like
now?
we covered how many mass shootings have been since January 1st of this year.
Oh, dude.
So you have
Fucking
that,
numbers are
and then
scary.
on top, now everyone views you as the bad guy. Majority of the nation reviews you as the bad guy. So that's just
Like
that's
I said,
shit.
as if it wasn't bad enough before, it's even worse now. It's getting worse. Every
Long
freaking
hours,
day.
high risk job, very little things. On top of that, now you even so much as pull someone over and say, "Hey, look, man, can I just get your license registration? Why do I have to give it to you, man? Come on, I'm just trying to do my job.
Yeah, that-
I don't have to give it to you now."
People
that
turning
cop-
their phone on and like filming
Yeah.
the whole thing, just be a shithead. I'm like, just
Look, man, I'm just trying to identify who you are. Even though they have policies and I understand we have rights, it's funny. I laugh at those TikTok videos where, I'm going to record, license registration.
you're
Here you go.
racist. You're doing this because
No,
you're racist.
No, the best one is license registration.
both
We're both
white.
white. Yeah.
Here you go.
That's all I can think of is we're
I
both
saw
white.
one. Let's go. I'm getting pulled over. License registration. Here you go, officer. Yeah, this guy's going to, I'm going to show him mine. I pulled you over for a broken taillight. Oh, okay. It's a fix-it ticket. Okay, thank you very much, officer.
Taillight? What is that, a racial slur?
Can you believe this? I got pulled over. I showed him. Have a good day, guys. I said, because it's mocking TikTok videos. It's great. I love them.
It's like when flat earthers prove themselves wrong.
Because when you see the right pushers, the rights pushers, where it's like, I have a right. You have to tell me what's going on. Okay, I will. You give me the courtesy. Well, I don't have to. Well, now you're being rude.
Yeah. Well, a license is a privilege. It's not a right.
Oh, fucking Christ. Hold on. That's
Fine.
fucker. No, I'm not going anywhere. It's a fucking one of the people that'll comment.
Oh, jeez.
How rude.
Hey, what's going on, buddy?
So, all right. Well, should we actually get this on? I think we should get it on.
No. We're still recording this.
Oh.
We're doing a podcast right now, bro. What's going on?
Yeah, you're on air.
That's why I ignored you the first few times.
Sound out of breath.
Yeah. You're like,
What's that squeaky noise?
No, so what are you up to?
Yo.
A little bit.
is like that
What are you up to?
intermission in a movie.
Yeah.
Go get yourself some popcorn.
Well,
Nails.
yeah.
Yeah, right.
Give me a few, and when we wrap this up, I'll give you a call. I don't know, a few.
God, you sound like a broad. Is that your side broad, Charlie? I don't want to wait.
guys broke up 3 days
Sean's
ago.
my road lover. We talk all the time.
We're not gonna work.
No, man, it's all good, man.
We broke up.
If you don't want
So
to, if you don't want
unprofessional.
to
Look
wait,
at this,
I
people.
understand, man. I totally get that.
God,
4 hours for this shit.
I know. Seriously.
Well, where are you now?
You gonna fill my gas tank?
All right.
What a bitch.
Only.
Let me give me a few minutes and I'll shoot you a text. Let you know how
Side bitch.
give me like literally 3, 4, 5 minutes. I'll touch you. All right, fuck
Holy
it.
jeez.
Later.
Keeping that in.
Nah, he's a good dude.
I'm keeping that in.
He's a good
Bitch,
dude.
Charlie.
He's a good dude.
Going back on your Second Amendment thing, like people didn't know that we were going to have nuclear weapons and everything. I've heard that a lot, but at the same time, back then, civilians had cannons and frigates and all the other shit that our military had.
Swords and fucking
Like they had the same weapons as the military.
beers, and you could build a trench and
But
fence
I
in
mean,
your
like,
gate.
how long ago did it come out? What is it called? Isn't it called the Alchemist's Cookbook? Isn't that what it's called? It's something like that, or the Anarchists.
Yeah, so the
That's what
Alchemist
it
is like,
That was
yeah,
Alchemist.
if there's an alchemist, I want my hand. I'm
Yeah,
gonna get my hands on that. It's like this will be gold.
I totally fucked that up. No,
Yeah,
Anarchist
I know what you're
Cookbook,
talking
but it's
about,
the
yeah.
fact that like a lot of that stuff, people have the knowledge to do whatever they want to do.
It's not even the now. You can.
That's what I'm saying. Is you can find out.
Well, no,
I mean,
we
it's so
can
known
buy
now.
a tank.
Yeah.
We are completely in our rights to buy a tank that the military has. Now, I don't have $30 million. But
Elon Musk
if I did, legally I can own a tank. And not decommissioned either. Well, he's kind of iffy on
Who are you
that.
arguing with?
Would you really buy the tank though?
Jason, you're the last one to speak.
I'd rent
Stop.
it for
Well,
the
before
day.
you say anything, just sit there and think about what you're doing.
Oh. And, all right, so this, I think,
His head stopped.
was the, wow. Was the Buffalo shooter younger?
The Buffalo shooter, yeah, he was a younger guy.
This the Texas one was too, and
How young was the Texas shooter?
18 or 19.
I was gonna say, I don't think that shooter was 18 or 19, but I think he was,
In his early 20s,
yeah,
I think. Was something like that.
Wasn't significantly old, which is kind of weird too, because I mean, not that hate knows no age, but I mean, like, you know,
Well-
you see these typical, like, if you see like even the stuff that happened when Trump was in office, you know what I
Right.
mean, where you had like the hate speeches, people mad that, oh, how can the neo-Nazis come out here and do what they're doing, or the KKK, you know, doing what they do and organizing,
White
wherever it's
nationalists.
predominantly
I mean,
an
the-
older group. You know what I mean? It's not
Yeah.
like, I'm not saying that none of it's right.
Yeah, so
But
how
it's
come
not
some
like
are
a younger-
accepted in
Yeah.
our well, I
It's
mean,
not like a younger
Right.
group type of thing,
Right.
Like, especially now with everybody being so woke and active. You know what I mean? And being so about other people's rights. You know, like
yeah.
it's not a young group type of thing. So it's just weird that would be something that someone would turn to. Like I said, hate knows no age, but
Isn't it fucked up that the woke generation now is all about being more politically aware versus the woke generation when we were coming up was coming to from a hangover or a roofie? You were happy to just be woke.
I don't know who you hung out with, but
well,
Wait, you guys didn't party like that in high school?
he hung out with us.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, I don't.
Charlie
I
was
have
the
no
only-
shame.
Charlie was the only one roofie.
I regret.
You guys get roofie too?
And I'm the only one who brought
Yeah,
them
we
guys.
just woke up first.
Oh, so
Man, I
someone
must
better,
be sleepy all the time.
Someone better not roofie me. Charlie, it's your drink. No, it's not.
So every time we have chili, it's a first cup.
Cold.
I only bring up age is because there's 3 entities. I can't remember the first 2, but one is the American Academy of Pediatrics have declared a national state of emergency in regard to children's mental health due to the lockdowns and COVID over the last couple of years. And now after all this, like a lot of these shootings are really, like, for lack of a better term, taken
18 to
off.
25-year-olds.
Like they've really just gone crazy.
And the worst part is when you think about it, if you stop and think about it, you know, a child is developing mentally in between like 5 and 13.
Right.
Their brain is really developing. Socially, personality based, well, not so much personality, but socially, it's crucial development between like 15
Actually, like 12.
And
yeah, you're like, because you start
13
becoming
to
conscious. You know what I mean?
25-ish
Like,
is when you're socially developing. You know, because I'm 37, and there are still fucking situations. I find myself in conversations with people. It's like, I don't feel comfortable, or
Two dudes, one shot.
It's definitely not roofie conversation.
no. In all seriousness,
Well, I know all about
because we're all in our 30s. We are, you know, you're a parent. I'm a parent. You're not a parent that you know of.
That joke, that joke will
but seriously, in all
joke will never
seriousness,
die.
in all seriousness, you know, like you have nieces and nephews and cousins and godkids that you know you're the godparents of, you're the godfather of, but still,
You're the godparents, plural.
No.
Are you woke?
how
Are
dare
part
you?
of the woke?
Don't put a pronoun on him that he doesn't identify with.
That's
I
right.
can reach.
So like I was saying,
Do myself.
you know, we've had these conversations with the younger generation that are coming up and saying, "Hey, what about this?" Oh fuck, I'm a little uncomfortable with this. But here we are in that position where we have to give an opinion and educate. You know, even with some of the teens that we know, like we have to give an opinion when they ask certain questions. Well, how do I explain this? And we're uncomfortable. Here we are in our 30s and still have to find a comfortable way to address a situation.
You know what the hard part is, especially as a parent, and I've thought about this. I mean, obviously, mine's not anywhere near that age to ask those kind of questions.
Yeah. That's a fun conversation.
The hard part is,
Shut up, Smeagol.
and to make
Fucking hear the snickering over there.
and is to give an opinion or at least a view that's as unbiased as possible.
But that's what I'm saying. We have no clear direction. We have to figure this shit out on our own and try to keep it as neutral as can be. But then here we are in this lockdown pandemic from 2018, the end of 2019 basically, to here we are 2022, and things are finally starting to alleviate. So a lot of these 18 to 25-year-old shootings, here they are with no social skills being developed, literally being force-fed from social media.
Social media, screen time alone. Screen time in the last year in 2021 was up by the youth 20%, which it was averaging 8 fucking hours a day. I mean, part of that is schooling, but the
Can't do that at work,
I've
dude.
talked
Like, you know?
I've talked to the teachers in both schools I've worked at, and both of them said that a portion of their class they haven't seen. I mean, now they're back in school, obviously, but when they were out, they hadn't seen at all the entire time from that March of 2020 through to when they go back. They went back the next year, right?
Yeah.
Partially.
Yeah.
Like they had no idea where they were or anything. Like they were just disappeared.
So now,
But that gives you an idea is that clearly the parents aren't there enforcing anything. So that gives you an idea what the home life is like right off the bat. So there's no enforcement. There's no parental figure at home. So obviously they're using schools as glorified childcare. And when they're at school, at least they get something. But even they can't even do a lot now because now when you're in school, you can't do shit. The teacher can't do anything to discipline.
Nope.
Now it's like you got to de-escalate things with like, well, you shouldn't. I'm sorry. When we were kids, there was no well, you shouldn't.
I got
At
fucking
all.
smacked by teachers.
There was no well, you should, because we just like, oh, okay. I mean, look, I think of any like really polite teacher, like soft spoken, like I honestly can't even remember any because they had no effect. There was nothing there. Like I remember the teachers that were like right in your face,
Or you
because
had the soft-spoken one, and if somebody if you got that person up to a tone, like everybody knew at that point in time.
Oh,
you
yeah.
Shut the fuck
well,
up.
yeah, you
know
have
what I mean?
those.
Like, yeah,
but I'm not talking about because those are
Yeah.
the ones that make an impression.
Yeah.
You still to this day, 15, 20 years later, you're like, oh yeah, I remember
The light switch
Yeah.
teachers.
yeah.
Oh, that teacher was so nice until you pissed him off. Then it was like a light switch.
Yeah.
Switch.
Then you
But
saw
that's
the
what you
fucking
need.
wrath of God.
But they could do that. They were allowed to do that. Whether they were pricks all the time or just when they had to be, you remembered them because they kept you in line. One of our old gym teachers, I remember, he would, this is like when I was in first and second grade having gym class, to us kids, he would look at you and like, what are you doing? You're making things up. What are you doing? Don't be stupid. You're making things up. But I remember that. Now you can't, like, God, if one of the teachers said that now, they'd be fired. Like that day, they'd be walked out.
Swim class
just
pushed you off the board.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, yes.
You're gonna learn how to swim in about 3 months.
I remember.
you don't figure it out. Well, you're in the pool.
And my old swim teacher, when I was like in first and second grade, that's what he would do too. He would just push you right into the deep end.
This is gonna sound bad, but
Maybe that's a little dangerous.
no. This is
We're gonna
gonna
get some
sound
phone
kind
calls
of,
after this.
I was lucky enough to learn swimming before school, so
this is gonna sound kind of bad, but I remember coming up where it was like there was a couple of kids where the teacher would be like, "Oh, you don't know how to swim? All right, well let me show you the general way to get into the pool. Go ahead, get to the edge, bend your knees a little bit, hold your arms out. What the fuck?" And then you're like, and here you are. No, in the shallow end, of course. And then
obviously
they go,
there was a turkey in
They
there.
would come up. Oh, why did you? Well, you could touch the bottom, right? Oh, okay. And here I am, like on the sideline. I can jump in on my own.
The Robin Hood thing.
I'll
Can
be
you
fine.
kneel? Yeah, put your feet down. Oh, well,
Yeah.
I'll be a bloody shell.
Yeah, no. And I remember like that teacher's gonna ask me if I can jump.
Oh.
I'm good. See ya. I can touch. See, I'm fine.
Not today.
Yeah.
No, I
but
was
that's-
in the deep end, dude. Like, no wonder your
This
whole
is
crew
how
was
you
pussy.
swim.
Like,
Every end is a deep end for you.
Yo.
glove,
Bang,
glove.
bang. DeMarco.
Who's the kiddie pool for? Everyone just looks at you.
Okay.
I got my floaties. He's short for anyone listening.
We're all the same height laying down.
Face down, right? At least that's the way I always fall asleep.
God
damn it.
Up.
I always wake up with my ass up. I don't know what the fuck that is. It must be a back problem. I
And
have.
it all always goes back.
If you gotta,
Why? I didn't fucking start it this time either.
Guilty conscience.
Fuck you.
You gotta think, going back to your point though, is that nobody, like the way that it is now between technology, learning online, whatever the case may be, everything that's happened, nobody ever had to. This is a whole different age.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't have it figured out. But our parents didn't have it fucking figured out at all either, man. Like,
No, 'cause-
you freaking, you get, something happened, he's upset, stop being a pussy, get out of my house. Like, you know, go do, like, there was no playbook.
walk
but,
on
like,
it?
you didn't exactly have a teacher either. Like, you know, like, that at all. So,
You're right, because when we were coming up, the internet was just born. Well, the internet was out, but it was just being modernized in an essence to, here you go, fuckers, figure it out.
Right.
Now it's, well, we better get this figured out before we put it out there. Oh, no, wait, it's not figured out yet. Let's try that. No, it's not figured out yet. Oh, no.
Well, it's too late, though.
Yeah, but like I was saying before, with the whole 18 to 25-year-old. So now here you are, got these 18 to 25-year-olds finally getting their freedoms, no social developmental skills.
Right.
No socially developed skills, no developed social skills, whatever you want to say.
Not in the personal sense. Everyone's got the gamer sense. Like, you can run your mouth to anyone on any video games, and now that's just bled over into social media. Like, how many people... Twitter is the worst.
Oh, yeah.
Twitter
Oh, yeah.
is the worst for people running their mouth, but there's no consequence. Because what are they going to do? I mean, what are you going to do? Someone just completely tears you apart. What are you going to do? Nothing. But that's normalized it.
But here's what I do. Close the app.
Well, yeah. In the same
give a shit about your opinion
sense, because of that, how many people know all their neighbors?
I actually do know my neighbors.
But in general, the nation, how many people know all their neighbors?
Oh, no.
That's not like I know.
Well, hold on. Let me ask you something really quick, because now you just said something about that. What do you consider a neighbor? Because I know
on the street.
the whole
like-
street.
that lives next
Like,
to you or
you-
within a few house vicinities.
Back
I
when
know
my
across the
parents,
street, next door. That's it.
when
That's all
my
I feel like I need to
exactly,
know.
but when my parents were younger than us, like there were block parties.
Yeah, they knew
my
everybody on the
mother
block.
they had block parties because they knew everyone on the block.
Mm-hmm.
How many block parties have you been to in your life? I can tell you exactly none.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's not a normal thing, and that started when we were
Well-
kids. But now, because of social media,
They
I mean,
but-
aside from knowing your neighbor's work schedule when they leave, like nobody goes out and
It's-
talks to people anymore.
Some of the areas I came up with,
Unless you're at a fucking bar.
there was the occasional. You would run into the occasional block party, but this is like 30 fucking years ago now. Like you said,
it happens now.
It's a
what
way
I'm
of-
saying is like it doesn't. It's not like it used to be. Like there was
No, you
no
don't
things
see
to
it.
like lock in your
Yeah.
attention and everything.
You don't see it. People did that, so that was the socializing.
So
It
there
was
is-
this.
yeah,
It was
there
that
is
you
no-
go and
That
talk
was
to
how all the
Talking-
youngsters got their chatty Cathys on.
There is no talking to people and getting not only just being friendly, but that's how you develop the skill of reading people. It's like something's on your mind. What is it? Like actually communicating emotional responses and feelings.
Well,
there is none of that
yes.
anymore.
Yeah.
Because how many times have you sent a message to anybody without a smiley face or something, and then they read it a certain way, like, what the fuck's your problem? Like, what are you talking? Like, I am so guilty of that. I text the way I talk. Words.
Yep.
Like, but nowadays, if you don't send a fucking unicorn or something, you're like, well, you're an asshole. It's like, why?
Well, see,
No, girls say it to me all the time.
It's
like, I
funny
can
that
hear
you
you say that. I'm like,
it's funny that you say that because I read every text message as if a computer is reading it to me. I'm not kidding. Like Siri or Alexa or Google or something.
Well, that's weird. See, I don't. I just read it
Like,
as
if you text
No,
me,
I'm just
like,
joking.
deadass, if you were to text me, I want to spank your ass tonight. I want to spank your ass tonight.
Siri. You.
No.
wait, oh.
You know what goes to my head?
Buffering.
Like, you know what goes to my head? Like, oh, he wants to play Brawlhalla. Okay, cool. And then sure as shit, 9 times out of 10, I fucking hate you. I hate this fucking game. It's not your fault. Fucking game. The mechanics are broke. Fuck you.
So I got like a good thing on this as well, like because I remember when I was still living here, like but actually probably like a year before I moved. With it, perfect example, they started switching everything over, even applications. Like Smeagol's generation screwed because even now
It's all
everything's online. You don't go in like I used to. Like 9 times out of 10, you could go in and get a job. You dress nice. You filled out your application. You walked in there presentable.
Yep.
You said this is an application. Could you hand this in to so and so? They would see that.
Right.
The way that you came in, greet somebody that you didn't even know, maybe shook somebody's hand,
And then, like,
or
I don't know
say
about-
hi to a couple people, be a certain type of way. You built that personality to go in there. You actually talked to people and pushed yourself past that comfort zone.
And called back a few times to
Yeah,
show interest.
exactly.
But even so, you're calling back. So like, hey, just want to let you know I'm still really interested in that.
Yep.
There's none of that.
No.
Well, I'm sure there is. Again,
You're
there's
right.
exceptions, but
Jason's right.
But I mean, they don't teach it. It's regressed
again.
because
Every time I look at him,
it,
he's fucking stopping.
It's the same thing. Like I just, it's hard. Like I used to hate that. I was like, man, I used to just like going and handing in an application because I would get the job 9 times out
Right.
of 10. Not sit there waiting behind a list of 400 people.
yeah,
Thinking
and it's
you're
like,
gonna get a call,
and they have
let's
all
just get an interview.
they have
like,
they have all those apps now. It's like we can find the perfect person for you. It's like, well, anyone can write any kind of bullshit on a resume. It's like, yeah, I've done all this. Sure, why not? They're like, oh man, you're really qualified for this job.
Like this fucking guy. He's telling me at the one job, I learned how to use a plow truck. Wait, what? It's like, yeah, they asked me if I know how to use a plow truck. I said, no.
To be honest, or in all fairness, the position I got into has nothing to do with anything I'm doing. I just got the job, and they're like, we need to do all this other stuff. I'm like, all right. Like, you ever drive a dump truck? Like, no. Do you want to? Yes. So, and yeah, then my
trained. Wait, what?
my literal crash course was within a minute. Push that, this does that. Call if you have a problem. Okay. So now I drive dump truck.
you walk in like, what's getting plowed? What's over here? Like, especially
And then I
when
get
it's
walked
like-
out. Wait, no, that's not what I meant.
That's not what I meant as he's pulling up his pants.
Fuck.
And then what's
Yes! You got it! Fucking God, I'm going to say fucker finally.
It's a lot, not lizard.
Lot lizards? I don't want to talk about those.
You gotta hit. You can't say that.
No,
anymore.
no, you can. I just I've learned who to avoid. Like the toothless woman at Burger King. Every time I deliver to them.
Listen, you'll get me 4 times, but the 5th time, I'm not falling for it again.
No, this one area that I've delivered to before, I'll lock the truck, especially if I see Toothless out. She's out there picking up the cigarette butts in the parking lot. Hey, Charlie. Hey, how you doing? What you got in the truck? Nothing. Just some
I know
freight.
it's lots to avoid.
Your beard's longer than mine. Get out of here.
So I'll like you get food today or not? No,
Not yet, baby.
No, just picking up cigarette butts. All right, well, I'm gonna go get myself a soda. You want something? Sure, here you go. And I'll go about my day like normal, but I'll lock my truck. I'll close my lift gate, all that shit. And I'm like, I don't feel like fucking coming.
Yeah, but you're
Here.
like, that's like feeding stray cats, Charlie. What are you doing? The hell are you doing? I'm like, give them attention.
Hey, you know what,
It's just
though?
you're going
You
to
know
go out
what,
to your
though?
truck and there's going to be 6 or 7 clawing at the doors.
Yeah, right.
You know what though?
Like The Walking Dead.
You know what though? It has paid off. It has paid off.
I bet it did.
No, because the one day I come out and she's sitting down by the end of my truck and she goes, yeah, some dude was like, who's parked? Comes up to your truck, looking in the driver's seat, like, who the hell parks your truck here? Oh, he's the delivery guy. He's in there. And the guy just shook his head and walked away. And I'm like, well, that was very nice of you. You dealt with an asshole that I didn't. That's awesome.
You got a shorter door window that's got a slide. Can only fit a forearm.
That's all I need.
Just all right. Put your arm through. Put your arm through like you're gonna arm wrestle nobody. There you go. Yeah, just stay like that.
It's like the episode of South Park with the sea monkeys and Cartman. I got it from the homeless guy in the alley. Yeah, he said I had to suck it through a hose with my eyes closed.
Yeah.
You finish it
Through a hose?
Seneca's
Yeah.
Oh, God.
All right.
This
So
went off the way.
So no, actually, yeah, I did.
Having fun with it though.
Way off.
Still unfortunate.
Just switching topics here.
Yeah, let's go.
Just to clarify that no, monkeypox doesn't have anything to do with monkeys.
Yes.
We know that.
And it was another gay disease.
It can be. Yeah, I sent you the.
Yeah.
Charlie knows.
No.
I've done my homework on monkeypox.
Hold on.
I have facts. I have things.
So-
I know things and stuff.
So here's the thing.
I know things and stuff. That sounded very professional.
Really quick though.
I know things and stuff.
So some conspiracy talk beforehand. You remember back in like the 80s when AIDS came around? It was AIDS gonna, there was the conspiracy theory about how AIDS was created to kill the homosexual community. And then, like along with that, there was like crack that was invented to kill, or heroin. Heroin was invented to kill the black community, etc.
That was crack.
Yeah,
there's all this.
So now here's another one: monkeypox.
What's the conspiracy theory?
No. I'm just saying it's gonna. There's gonna be. There's gonna be.
Waiting for the punch.
Yeah,
There's gonna be. It's gonna be the next one. Oh, monkeypox was created to kill the homosexual community. Because didn't you say in the notes that you would send me? It was.
Yeah, it was primarily spread through, I don't know what European country, but they had like a couple raves, and it was I don't know if that's ground zero or patient zero rather.
Raves.
But it was
Is it called?
it was sex between two guys, and that's how it initially started, and that's how I don't know how many cases there are to date.
That's
in the
how it
States,
started
but-
recently. The thing
Yeah,
is that
yeah.
it's actually been around since the 1950s.
Yeah.
And it actually was here in, I think they said 2003. It happened in the Midwest because of rodents that somehow got in some type of shipment from Ghana to
Right.
the Midwest. And that's where, when it happened. But there are two variants. I think there is a Central African clade and a Congo clade. So and the Congo one's worse. Whereas this is a typical
that's
thing.
the one where the mortality rate is like
Yeah.
10%, and the other one's like less than 1%.
It's actually, believe it or not, COVID is less likely to spread than this. Like it's a 0.5% to 3%.
Are you
rate
saying
of transmission.
that gay sex is just run amok
Yeah.
in the States? Like,
That's Chuck.
I fucking knew something. No.
He's got two reasons why not, but I mean,
Yeah. But
he's got to cover up.
So what you're saying is, wait a minute, hold on a second. What you're saying is rodents somehow cross-strained this and it
No.
developed a variant. So gerbils are technically considered rodents.
When it happened in the Midwest.
Yeah, so did Richard Gere. He know where the gerbils went.
Well, the funny
Just
thing
kidding,
is
Richard Gere.
when it happened in the Midwest is that it happened because of rodents that got into a shipment of, I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
They had the disease, and then prairie dogs even got it. So you had prairie dogs.
Prairie dog in it.
I know, I gave a whole different meeting. I was thinking about that when I was driving over here. I was like, man, this is going to be a fun conversation.
There's going to be a prairie dog joke.
But, yeah, so it started in the 50s, and then it became heightened, I think, in the 70s. In the 50s, it happened because it was between colonies of monkeys that were used for testing.
Sex?
No, not gay sex. You weren't able to just fuck monkeys, and that's how it
Well,
happened.
there goes my government application. I don't want the job anymore.
Hence the name monkeypox is the reason why. But, yeah, so
it can spread to people, but it's like extremely rare from monkeys.
it has to, you have to, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
But-
monkey banging. But I mean, like,
It puts the item monkey fist to a whole new meaning. You ever heard of the monkey's paw, they call it?
Yeah.
It's that fucking like lead ball wrapped up with like paracord and some shit. People would like fucking put lead balls and shit in them. And
yeah, but it goes away, like, from what I understand, it goes away in like 2 to 4 weeks. What happens is you have a couple of days of symptoms, which is like, funny enough, seems like flu-like symptoms. So you you got flu herpes and ultra flu herpes. I mean,
Fucking
like that.
gay monkeys giving us the flu.
Pus flavored bumps that come up and then they like dry out and die off. But the thing is like
Pus-flavored or pus-filled?
there's 1 in 10.
What did I
people,
hear?
Yeah, it's pus filled.
Okay, I thought you said pus flavored. I'm like,
how
what
would
the
you know
fuck
what
did I
pus
just
tastes
hear?
like?
Oh, that's monkey.
Yo,
Oh,
mom, that back.
you fuckers, you got me. I thought it was just regular pus. That's monkeypox. Oh fuck, sorry.
boy, don't I feel like a horse's patoot?
Yeah.
No, but still, it's like this is gonna. Oh, fucking hope this doesn't become the next pandemic.
Well, I bring it up because just kind of a rehash of it because the CDC or the truck that crashed in New York.
Oh, with Tyler, we were talking.
Was a CDC truck. It was headed to a CDC research or quarantine facility. And the 100 monkeys were flown in from an African nation to JFK Airport.
When does it stop becoming a conspiracy and just become dumb?
Well, they were saying too that like one in every 10 person that has it in Africa, but mind you, this has been going on for decades in Africa, have died because of it. But the thing is that you're in a part of the world that doesn't have good health care, and that's why that's the situation.
Yeah.
It's not something that's dangerous, and it's not necessarily something that would become an epidemic, but it's something that could be.
Did you
know what I
see?
mean? Like that's because COVID teaches everybody that there's a possibility that something could very well turn into something like that. I mean, unless you're out there banging Eastern European dudes left and right that have monkey.
Hey, listen,
I mean,
listen.
and
Enzo was really Enzo.
like,
She was only dressed up like a guy. She was a female.
With the whole, they don't have great health care or anything over there. In regards to that, you see that Pfizer is now lowering the cost of their vaccination or vaccine for COVID to send to these third world countries finally. On surface, without even thinking about it, it's like, oh, good, they're going to finally get into these like poor countries. My head,
nobody gave a shit before.
my head initially went to because you've spent all your money you can in the States and every other rich nation. Now we're going to drop it so we can make even a little bit more money out of poorer nations.
Yep, you're gonna suck what they have left out of them. Forget just giving it to them because they can't.
That's what I said.
mean?
That
Like,
was my
Jesus
argument for the whole
Christ.
thing. If this way back in October, whenever we had that show, if it was so dangerous, why don't you release the patent on your fucking vaccine and make it readily so it's
Why won't we
over the
just
counter?
helping each other and
Yeah,
making sure
even
everybody
if
had
it
what
was
they needed.
over the counter, so you could just go to your local Walgreens and they could affordably make it and just distribute it among a whole bunch of different medication distributors or makers or whatever. And now it can go to third world countries without having to charge an arm and a leg, so they can afford it. Not even us, because obviously we had it; the government paid for
Yeah.
it. But all these other poor countries, so they can have it readily available.
Well, it's like
Didn't do that though.
Canadians talking up their country all the time. They down talk the U.S. all the time. I deal with it out there because we're so close to Canada.
Oh yeah.
And they
I
sell
can
the
hear them
shit.
yelling across
Yeah,
the
yeah,
river
yeah.
constantly.
Hey, buddy!
Hey, I'm sorry to give you a hard time.
Not
but,
everyone
your
is Terrence and
country
Phillip.
sucks.
How's that coming, guy? They talk so much about their healthcare system, how much the U.S. sucks, but then their country did nothing to get them vaccines at all. And they're like, you need to be vaccinated.
Yeah.
Well, you can't even get vaccinated.
Don't worry about us. This is about you.
Universal healthcare, which you have to, it's one of those things, from what I understand, you have to get yourself put in the emergency room really to get something taken care of.
Yeah.
Or you're waiting 3 to 4 months. So, I mean, I don't know. Fucking Canadians don't take them serious.
And here we are, we're one of the richest countries in the world, even though we owe probably the most. And yet, we can afford to send $50 billion to a country where the death rate or the body count is a fraction compared to what COVID was. But let's put the money places we don't need it. Yeah.
Some morals. You think, like I said before, that if you wanted, like, regardless of how you feel about another country and your status as a country, like, you would think going through something like this, everybody would combine and try to squash it.
Well, yeah.
Right.
Remember all Hulu, Netflix, fucking
Here's your
Vudu,
chance.
HBO Max, all the streamline services. They would put those ads in there. The world is hurting. The lockdown. They're showing like empty streets in Italy, empty streets in Europe, France, Germany, Russia, fucking America, Canada, Mexico.
The film's in black and white too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which you see that a lot in
One world, one world, one people. Let's look out for our other man. By the way, pay us $100 million to get the vaccine in your country. Oh, you're third world? All right, give us $95 million.
Right. They
We'll cut you a discount because you're so poor.
Jeez. Well, actually, speaking of one world, the World Economic Forum. Did you see? Because they had that get together from the 22nd to the 28th, I think. One of the guys that were speaking in it, well, Bill Gates obviously was speaking in it, talking about future pandemics. And
What do you got planned, Bill?
in improving their response time and ability. But there's another guy that was talking, which I thought was interesting, and he was talking about having the ability to track each individual's carbon footprint. And what he was specifically said is being able to track where they go, how they got there, what they eat, like everything you do. Like they were proposing that. It's like, if we could do this, and everyone, of course, when they shot the idea, they're like, everyone would be able to track their own carbon footprint. So if they wanted to think green, I'm doing too much. But if they're tracking their own carbon footprint via app or something, who the fuck else is tracking their carbon footprint? Yeah.
Marketing, because now...
too.
James here is
Because
a go green guy, and he wants natural herbs and medicines to, supplement his vitamins or whatever the case may be. Here, look at all this. Look at all this.
well,
look at all this.
they already do that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they do that with just like your search history and everything. And now everyone's phone is catered to your interests and whatnot.
Good luck with that, because mine still fucking sends me the most random shit.
Because your fucking interests are fucking weird.
I bounce. I intentionally. Big Brother can't fucking put a pin on me.
They probably already have.
Beard porn.
Yeah.
Midgets, little people, video games, cough syrup, fertilizer,
All right, so you just
Water
described
sports?
Lord of the Rings.
water sports.
3 movies of walking.
But now on top of that, they'd be able to tell precisely what you drive, what you eat, where you've been. And by
Then
that,
I'm fucked.
there's actually algorithms in computers. I can't remember the program or what it was. There's an algorithm that is able to determine, like where you're going to go and stuff is one thing, but they were able to determine when parents were going to die, and actually have it within a short amount of time when it was actually going to happen, based on communications they had with
Hey,
health,
Smiggle,
with
death clock.
and like whatever names were brought up, they could see their medical history, doctor's appointment, and then come down to the point. It was like they're going to pass in X amount of time. That's fucking scary. That's now. Like they already have that.
You guys ever watch the show Futurama?
Oh, yeah.
Remember Professor Hugh Farnsworth? Maybe I'll invent some sort of death clock. Oh, wait, I already did. Fry puts his finger in. Bender. Ooh, dibs on the CD player. That's what it's going to be. Put your finger on the clock.
I love that fucking show.
Awesome. That was probably my favorite of all of them, beyond South Park and any of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bender, Bender, Bender. Bender, Bender, Bender. Shut up, Smiggle.
Those are
Be quiet, Smiggle.
those are
Sorry.
the best infinite amount of guys I ever met.
Yeah.
Now there's a Church of
mad.
Death. Well, not the Church of Death. It's not really a Church of Death. They just had a medically assisted euthanasia inside of a church, or
Church of Satan, I take it.
no, I
Reverend
Actually,
Hillary
That
Clinton.
would have been great if it was the Church of Satan.
no. Well, that was the whole abortion thing. They're like,
Oh, yeah.
they're like, oh yeah, the church, the Satanic Church was filing suit against. Did you hear that? Satanic Church was filing suit against the government if they overturn Roe v. Wade, which another leak was, or there was another leak of that, which doesn't look like it's going to change. It's going to be overturned. But they were going to file suit against the government saying that their ability to abort is a violation of their First Amendment right, the ability to practice religious, or have religious practice, which initially when I first read it, I'm like, so you're saying you do human sacrifice, which I thought was fucking illegal.
We're doing it the modern day way. We're not going to kill somebody on the spot. We're just going to have
But now
abortions
the
here.
reason why I put this down
That's so
is
shot.
because in any religion or most major religions that I've ever known about, like suicide is one of the huge cardinal sins.
Oh,
and
yeah, you're done, you're done.
But now they're doing medically assisted euthanasias, and I believe this was in the church. Like, so we've that's where our society's gotten to the point where just like classic anything conservative, anything is just gone.
One
Or
of the
just
biggest
about
things,
gone.
You come from a little bit. You and I come from a bit of a heavier religious upbringing. I want to say.
Yeah.
So one thing that I always used to love, because I won't sit there and bash people on their beliefs, but when you start Bible thumping me, all right, well, gloves are. I'll put the gloves on. Let's go round for round. One of the biggest things I used to shut people down with was, all right, you want to talk about God and all that fun stuff. Holy man of the church in the under the cloth for what, 30, 40 years? Yeah. What happens when he dies? What happens when he dies? He goes to heaven. Okay, he loses his wife to breast cancer, and all of a sudden he's feeling down about the world and decides to commit suicide. Well, he's got to make his peace with God before he goes to heaven. He committed suicide. That's cardinal sin.
Yeah, I believe
he
it.
automatically goes to
That's
hell.
like the number.
I think
of
whoever
any
you're
religion.
arguing that with, that's a poor argument.
But it would always be the one where like, well, see, now you're finding reasons to make it okay. Well, so now
No, any religion, that is like the number one. That's
Yeah.
That's like you are not going where you think
Yes.
you're going.
Yeah.
But that, so I would sit
Go
there and
directly
punch
to
a
jail.
hole.
Do not.
I would punch
do
a
not
hole.
pass go. Do it. Yeah.
I would punch a hole in their theory because here I am saying like, well, convicted murderers, rapists, child molesters, people on death row, they get to make their peace with God. They ask for forgiveness, and as long as they have true repentance, they're allowed in heaven. Correct? Yeah. Okay. So the man of 40 years of the cloth, he goes straight to hell, well, because he committed suicide. Well, and the reason I bring that up is because you fast forward to now. What was it? 10 years ago, 15 years ago, the church accepted homosexuality. It's okay. Like you can still go to heaven if you're a homosexual.
I've never heard that.
If you look
Again, I don't know what church you went to.
If you look it up, if you look it up, in the last 10 to 20 years, the church overturned its views or changed its views.
What church are you speaking of, though? Because you're
Like the
going
Catholic Church.
Oh, you.
Well, I mean,
I think this
they
is
were-
a Methodist church.
I was
but-
gonna say because they're losing. I mean, they probably lost obviously.
Well, hold on,
numerous
I'll
priests
find
for
out.
the fact of homosexuality and pedophilia. So
Hold on. When?
they had to do something to keep them around.
All right, we'll allow suicide. Happy?
Meet us halfway. Okay, you can be gay. It's not with boys.
Yeah, I think it was a Methodist church.
I was gonna say because I've been,
Um,
they just ship them to the Vatican. You never hear about them again.
well,
They're safe haven.
so
Do you remember what movie that was? There was a movie about that where
What?
they went to an all boys school and that type of stuff went on. I think like there was like 5
Oh.
dudes. There's like Brad Pitt. I'm trying to remember who else. I think it happened in like New York. And I think De Niro was one of the guards or something like that, a guard or part of this situation. I thought it was like an all boys school type of thing. There was a movie. I think they ended up killing the guys afterwards.
Really quick. This is from hrc.org. Stances of faith on the LGBTQ equality. I'll read these 2 paragraphs really quick. On sexual orientation and gender identity, the Catechism of the Catholic Church, a text which contains dogmas and teachings of the Church, names homosexual acts as intrinsically immoral and contrary to the natural law, and names homosexual tendencies as objectively disordered. While the Catholic Church does not consider homosexual orientation sinful in and of itself,
didn't they used to?
it does, but hold on.
All right.
It does have a very negative attitude toward it. The 1986 letter states, although the particular inclination of the homosexual person is not a sin, it is a more or less strong tendency ordered toward an intrinsic moral evil, and thus the inclination itself must be seen as an objective disorder.
Right.
The fact that Catholicism does not consider the inclination sinful is very different from more fundamentalist Christian churches. It is one of the reasons that the Catholic Church has not officially approved of reparative therapy. The Catechism further states that homosexual persons are called to chastity. However, the doctrine, blah, 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 the actual experience of LGBT perishers, it goes on and on and on and on and on. 2015. In September of 2015, the Vatican's Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, responsible for enforcing Catholic, did permit a transgender man in Spain to serve as godfather, effectively barring transgender or undoing the barring of transgender Catholics. So in 2015, transgender, homosexuality, all that stuff was finally like, okay, we're going to allow it in the church.
Right. I kind of expected that to happen, though.
I mean, I guess it matters how you look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still I think, kind of frowned upon by most people, like beating off at your friend's house or something. Like,
wait.
Just because
wait,
I don't look
it's
at it
not
as
okay to beat up at your friend's house?
Because one church in Spain.
I can't stop. It feels so good.
Yeah,
that breakfast
because
wouldn't be awkward.
One church in Spain allowed one person. That doesn't. I mean,
But
but
that's a proactive measure. That's moving forward. That's new age. But I mean, I'm talking more like you need more like a swing. Like, okay, like 20 churches.
we need every Catholic church in America to have at least one gay father.
Yeah, right.
All right. Praise Jesus.
Are they good?
Oh God.
He's got the rainbow collar.
Oh.
Bang, bang.
So through all this stuff,
Yeah.
there's been a lot of talk lately. I mean, through all the division, through the abortion, through the religion, through left and right, Republican, Democrat, through the trans movements, the alphabet community movement and everything.
BLM.
Civil war has been dropped a lot. Are we headed that way?
I want to say no, honestly. And you're going to probably think it's a bit of a stretch, but with I'm going to name it classic Houdini or a Copperfield technique. Look at this. While everything bad's happening, we are so distracted with everything that's going on. Mass shootings, pandemics, all these woke movements, all these organizations, all this stuff going on. We are so distracted. We are so preoccupied with how bad things are getting in certain in aspects of all the stuff that's happening in the social media nowadays that, like you said before, Biden is doing so much shit fucked up that the left and right are finally not hating each other anymore.
His administration is.
His administration is fucking so much shit up that it's finally the left and right are like, you know what? Maybe we do see eye to eye on some things. I think it's finally starting to not. I think it didn't prevent. It hasn't prevented it, but it's definitely snuffed it. It didn't take the bomb away. It definitely put out the fuse. The bomb is still there. And the right thing will light it. But I think right now we are not in danger of relighting that fuse.
To your point, I think the left and right, it's not the left and right seeing eye to eye. It's pretty much like liberals, classic liberals, centrists, and everyone, where historically they've had different opinions and views on things. But they've just kind of put that off because they see the left is going so far left that everyone else just seems right to the left.
Yeah.
Like they'll look at a centrist and be like, well, you're fucking extreme right. It's like, I've always been classic liberal as far as I can remember, but I guess I'm right now to the crazy movements that are going on.
There's enough people. The point I'm making is there's enough people that are finally saying, whoa, wait a second. All differences aside, there is some fucked up shit going on that needs to get addressed. But yet the administration, the movements, the tragedies that are occurring, the economy failing, whatever. There's so much fucked up shit going on behind the scenes that people are like, all right, look, I may not agree with this, but this needs to be addressed. Let's worry about this later. Do I think we are on the doorstep of a civil war? No. Do I think it's still out there? Yeah.
You?
I think this is exactly what's going on right now. If you look at it in that perspective, yeah, but this is like, you have all these different groups of people going against each other in your own society. The only thing that's not really involved is the powers that be. Or are they? You know what I mean? Depending on how you look at that, too. All this stuff is putting people against each other. Your own people are fighting with each other over all these different things instead of coming together. It depends on how you look at it. It's all perspective.
Micro civil wars.
So, it's all these different battles. It's LGBTQ. It's Black Lives Matter movement. Initially they're putting everybody against each other. But it's multiple things at the same time. An actual civil war, like North and South type of thing, I don't think that type of thing is going to happen, but what you really need, I think the eventual push is there's going to have to be a revolution again at some point, because the power that be is a problem. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And all good things come to an end, like Rome. Like
when you put it like that,
it matters how you look. You know how you look at it. It's all perspective, like I said. But I mean, an actual like East and West, North and South. New York versus everybody.
New York and California.
Yeah. You can make it here, you can make it anywhere.
Everybody versus Jersey.
It's funny. Yeah, Jersey sucks. Sorry, Jersey fans.
Can't say that.
Yeah,
You can't be like, oh, Jersey
you know how
sucks.
many
Sorry,
people-
guys.
I talked to a few people that are from Jersey, and they're like, "No, my state sucks."
Rick, I'm looking for a new co-host. So
Fuck you. Fuck you. Fine.
I got time
God,
for once
my-
a week, I can drive down. It's not that bad. Now the sun's back out.
Sun's out, guns out.
I think
Buns out.
I don't know where you're.
Could have been hot dog. Like, come on, man. Jesus. Either way,
I think for two different reasons. I think we're already in a civil war. If you look, all right, well, here are my two reasons. One is I don't think it's going to be a civil war, obviously, not the way it was before, where it was North and South, because that was very clear defined lines. I think it's really just going to be spread out, kind of like back in the 50s during the start of the Cold War. It was like you didn't know if your neighbor was a fucking commie or not. Like it was, everyone was just questioning. Everyone was like,
Sleeper
"What do you
cells.
think? What do you?"
Sleeper agents.
Yeah, like what are you thinking? Like, what are you like on the same thought process as me? Like, you don't fucking know for the most part. Which goes back to, again, how many block parties have you had? How do you know your neighbors? And you don't. So what do you do to fill in those gaps of what you don't know? You create fucking shit. So now you're just questioning everyone without even fucking talking to anybody. But social media is a huge one. It's a cancer on fucking society. It's a cancer. And that's what everyone does. They get in echo chambers now. Again, how often do you communicate with someone of opposing views? Which I would love to have just a classic libertarian that sits with us to bounce ideas back and forth. Right. The problem is it's hard to find.
Don't worry, Mike. I already changed my opinion based on what you said. He's just trying to take credit.
you're backpedaling now.
Oh, no. I'm just making sure this is clear and identifiable. Because I got to agree with you guys. Go ahead. Sorry.
So again, social media, what happens now is instead of communicating with other people with different ideas, you get into echo chambers. Who agrees with me? And then that's who you look at.
Who agrees with me?
So you start talking to them. Yeah. And then that becomes confirmation bias. So then you're just elevating this small, like certain things that you believe without even looking at the other views or even views outside of the two extremes that might be, you know what, that's a different way of looking at it, or that's even better to change it. That doesn't happen either. Going further, though, talking about the old school North versus West, if you look, north, north, the fucking west, the north.
Hey, Seattle.
Yeah. It's fucking rainy.
No, it's rain.
And Bigfoot too. That
It's
fucker.
not the only thing that's wet in that state.
Bigfoot. But if you look at the original Civil War, what was happening before the Civil War broke out? The abolishment of slavery, that was in motion. And they were trying to amend the Constitution to where you couldn't own slaves. And when they were trying to make that movement, there was a mass migration of different people with different views switching and moving to different states that allowed it or didn't allow it.
Yep.
What do you have right now, especially with Roe v. Wade really kicking in? When Biden got in and like after all this, the vaccine and stuff started happening, the COVID, the lockdowns, there was a huge migration of people from California going to red states, and then people from red states leaving and then going to blue states. That's happening. That's what happened in the original Civil War when it came to slavery. And the whole idea was, we're going to change this nationally so you can't have slaves. And the South is like, I think the way they argued it was, how did they put it? They didn't say they wanted slavery. They said they wanted something else. And this is fucking my own fucking ill preparedness for this. This is like on the spot conversation. They spun it a different way so it didn't make it seem like they just wanted to own slaves. It was like a decision, like a right to decide something or other. But that's, again, going back to the Roe v. Wade thing, that's what we have, is them trying to federally change a law or get rid of a federal law. So it's like, no, we're not doing this. And now you have different sides, man and female. Or not even male and female. Like I said before, it's like, don't you think a lot of males would be like, yeah, abortion needs to be legalized?
Yeah, right.
Well, seriously.
So,
Wouldn't it make
Mike,
sense?
I'm currently taking applications for a better prepared host.
I'm prepared for that.
Gotcha, fucker.
Anyway, so
He looks back at me. He's like,
I hate you, Charlie.
but then going
fuck, I hate you too, James.
but that's what happened with the original Civil War.
Yeah.
Is like there was this major issue and there was these people making this mass exodus or just shifting sides. That's what we have going on now. The difference between then and now is then it was slavery. Now it's transgenderism. It's just in general left and right.
Black
and
Lives
then
Matter,
it's,
all
I mean,
lives matter, blue lives matter.
they've separated black and white. They separated male and female. They've separated gender. They've separated right and left, which has classically always been separated.
Yeah.
And now all they have to do is separate children from their parents, like within the house. I mean, they're just separating and separating and separating and separating. There's all these crazy movements. Part of that is social media's fault of politicizing or making all this widely available and really pushing things to the forefront. Look what's going on. And then everyone across the nation sees it and be like, what the fuck? And then they develop this huge opinion on it and then go back to their echo chambers. And then when they're in their echo chambers talking to people that think the same way they do, that's where all this hate and bullshit festers. Fuck those guys. Again, this is where you go back to shooters. The one guy in Buffalo was indoctrinated. He was indoctrinated on the internet. And he himself specifically said, if it wasn't for me being on the internet and just being radicalized, this probably wouldn't happen, or something along those lines. That's the Buffalo shooter. That was his whatever social media platform. That's what he put out there.
Well, you got the consistency of all these things at once, and your brain doesn't process at that level.
That's a problem,
you're getting
too.
hit again and again and again and again to the point that you drive somebody that may or may not have some type of anxiety to that point where they can't handle all that information at once and become as radical as they do, and it's overwhelming. And then you throw a pandemic in there, you throw all this other shit. There's so many things at once, and like at least with like the Civil War, like there was no good to come out of that other than the fact that, you know, slaves were freed or whatever the case may be. It was a clear wrong. There was a clear right and a clear wrong.
Yeah.
It's one thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? You have 8, 10. It changes by the day.
And half of those things aren't even a clear right or wrong.
Exactly. And that's the problem, because obviously the mistreatment of African Americans and what's happened with shootings and this, that, and the third between what's happened with African American shooters, white shooters, whatever the case may be, even though not all stories on both sides are given clear, you don't hear about a lot of things. There is a clear right and wrong, but there's also a clear right and wrong on training, how an officer should handle themselves. But now you force it to the point where you have an active shooter in a school, and any cop's not acting because they're afraid to do anything. They're afraid to turn left. They're afraid to turn right. They don't have the training. They're defunded. There's a million different... It's not just one thing is this is caused because of this.
Yeah.
No, there are 20 details that all affect the situation on both sides. But you have all these people pushing this against all of us together rather than us going against the whole government situation the way that it should be. You'd think that you would combine and conquer, but that's not. It's turned everybody against each other because nobody knows what the fuck to think.
Right, yeah, because it's
too.
just an influx of, it's a tidal wave of information. Good, bad, neutral, doesn't matter. You can only take in so much. I mean, think about when you go and watch a movie. Like how many you've seen movies where they introduce so many fucking characters. You're like, I can't. Like they got fucking 8 main characters.
Game of Thrones.
What the? There's so much.
Game of Thrones,
but even that's how
example.
many episodes per season and seasons were there? They can at least flush out through that thing. We're talking that whole span. A fucking morning, you wake up and in a 30-minute span, you're like.
It's 40 main characters.
Dude, Game of Thrones is by far the best example of what you're trying to describe, because by the halfway point to the first season, you had 20 different characters worth of stories that now it's like, holy shit, what the fuck?
That shit was all over the place.
Yeah, the first half of season, you had so much character development, so many characters, backstories, future stories, current stories. It's like,
and it's way too much.
This was going to follow you.
Yeah, and it's way too much to pay attention to.
Yeah.
Now you just take that into the real world where things actually matter. Like,
you need 2 episodes of the Black Plague where half the characters get wiped out.
Yeah. They probably did that because everyone's like, there's way too many characters. Like, how do we get rid of a plague?
The red wedding.
And that's where we go all the way back. We go full circle, and where the World Health Organization and Bill Gates wants to reduce the population because there's too many fucking main characters, and he says we need the Black Plague. Rick, it was nice to see you.
Always.
I'm glad you came back.
Always.
Anytime you want to come back.
I suggested the idea. I want some credit for that.
Anyway.
I'm like, dude, why don't you do cast list tomorrow? Dude, down.
Let that reach around.
Oh, you owe him. Right here, on camera.
Beer's looking real.
Oh,
nice.
no. We'll get canceled.
Cancel culture.
Joe, except